It's Wine Down Wednesday. Where are my little planners at?
Yes.
Hey.
We know wine is a key component in all wedding planning.
Yes.
So I hope you're keeping your sanity.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Today's episode is jam-packed with so many goodies. We are talking about photography, which is one of the most important, I think, topics that you can talk about regarding a wedding planning journey. It's usually your first vendor that you choose, which is very important. It's also the only tangible thing that you take away from your wedding day. So picking the right photographer is obviously super important, and we want to make sure on the biggest day of your life that you're getting everything they need. So lots of tips and questions going out today. We're fully dedicating this whole entire episode to answering all of your questions and hopefully providing some helpful tips and picking your own photographer.
Yes.
Thank
So
God you can edit.
let's jump in. Our guest today is a super multi-talented photographer who can really do it all. She does from engagement shoots to weddings to content creation, you name it, she can do it. Everyone, please welcome Miss Brittany Chavez.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
You're so talented. Obviously, we've worked together multiple times. We've known each other a while now, and I just think the world of you. So thank you for being on our podcast and sharing your knowledge. Like Cam was saying, multi-talented, because not only do you do photography for weddings, you do babies, you do showers, you do concerts, you do like every kind of any journey or anything that you're trying to do throughout the wedding is you've pretty much covered, and you are super talented.
Well, thank you.
You also did all of our branding. So.
Yes,
Branding, that's a big one.
she did. Any picture you've seen of RSVP Thanks.
But weddings are kind of all of those things, right? Concerts and families and babies and events and branding. Everything is for the big show, right? For social media, show off, keepsakes forever. So
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, love it.
We're so excited to have you.
So like I was saying earlier, photography is literally one of the most important vendors that you'll pick. It's usually, as a wedding planner, I've noticed they have their photographer before they've even booked me a lot of the time. Because usually you're getting engaged and you're doing a save the dates or engagement shoot right away. So talk a little bit about like that process. I feel like they are booking you before any vendor. When should couples be booking to make sure that they lock you in or lock in the person that they love?
I always say it should be one of your very first vendors. It should be location and then photographer. I know a lot of photographers that are picky about where they shoot, and they don't take on every client or every location, and I love that. Not the part of being picky, but just knowing your client and knowing your skill set is vital. And there's been brides that I've turned away because we're not a good fit, and there's brides that have turned me away because we're not a good fit, and recognizing that is just super important in this process. So with that being said, we're probably the second vendor you pick. I always say location first, then find me, then get your wedding planner.
Perfect. And speaking of styles, since sometimes you don't match with the right person, there's so many different styles of photography, and some people like airy and moody like you do, and some people like it more dark and darker edited and everything. So with all of that lingo said, what is the best way for them to find the style that they like, or like to communicate that with you and find out exactly what you do?
I love when a bride or groom reaches out and says immediately,
Right.
I want light and airy. And that's usually a very popular style, especially in Charleston. You have your pinks and yellows and whites and creams, and that's super important, especially if it's a beach wedding. But then you have those people that reach out and they're like, I want dark, moody. We're having this wedding at 8 p.m. and we're having it inside. I don't know if you've seen this new venue, 21 Magazine, and it is stunning. You're seeing brick and you're seeing concrete and you're seeing just kind of industrial, historical, all combined into one. And you don't really want light and airy. I don't want to see every crevice of this building.
Right.
I want to see my focus be the bride and groom, or grooms or brides, or whoever my client is.
So in those venues, would you change a little bit of your technique, I guess, towards the venue?
Definitely. And you kind of have to keep up with the times as well. I can tell you that I can do light and airy. I can tell you I can do dark and moody.
Right.
But I'll tell you what's back is we've seen all of social media is grainy, blurry, in motion, and all these people with expensive camera equipment are like, why are we going back to almost disposable camera like photos?
Camcorders.
Yeah. And it is,
Super 8s are like all the rage right now.
and
I've
it's
seen that.
but that takes a talent as well. People think you can just walk out there and take this blurry shot, and it's really not how it works. So
Right.
I always like to, I say I vet my client, but truly they vet me. They see if we're a good fit. They've looked at my Instagram and my portfolio. They've talked to other brides and people that I've worked with. And like Lindsay said, we've worked together now almost 3 years, I think. And Lindsay, the most talented of wedding planners, she's recommended me for people she thinks I will be a good fit for. And that's not
Good.
everyone. But being able to know that and read that, brides are coming in pretty blind to the whole process and trusting. And maybe they saw one picture on social media. That one picture, I might not be able to recreate that moment with that venue, that bride, that person. So I like them to make sure that they look through everything and make sure that I'm the best fit.
Great.
So I want to piggyback off that comment because I think that's great. Is it a red flag if photographers are saying like, oh, I do it all. I do light and airy. I do documentary. I do moody. I do like, the old school, like Super 8 or whatever. Like, is that a red flag that people should look out for?
It definitely can be. And so when I come in here and I say I do X, Y, and Z, I do X, Y, and Z in my style. I can tell you I do light and airy. You have to look at my portfolio and decide if that light and airy is the light and airy that you are envisioning and dreaming of. If you bring me a magazine picture, I have to be honest with myself and with my client and say, that's not really my expertise there. And honesty, like Lindsay said, is it a red flag? If you don't expose everything, then yeah, definitely. You have to be able to say no, and you have to be able to walk away from a client. And if you have a photographer that just agrees to everything you say with zero honesty or says they're, a 10 out of 10 on every category, that's not really true. I will be upfront and I'll tell a client, you know what? I'm much better in this setting. I don't really love a posed family portrait. I am your party person. I'm your getting ready person. I'm a detail shot person. And people want to hear that because they might not be looking for posed family portraits. And that's probably one of the biggest issues of weddings is the family part. So
my thing is like, even as a planner or content creator, anybody in the wedding world, like over promising and under delivering doesn't do anybody any good. And when it comes to your photography on the biggest day of your life, like we say it, and it's kind of a cliche at this point, but it really is. It's a day that you can never get back. You can never redo. It happens as it is. And then it's a lasting memory in your life. So photography is so huge. And just don't overpromise and underdeliver. Just be honest with your clients. Like, you're not going to nail down every single inquiry. You're not going to get you're not going to book every single client that you have a consultation with. But I think like having those relationships and building that trust with one another is so huge because they do recommend you. They will, have like their cousin or their friend or somebody else getting married down the road, and they'll want to book with you. So I did want to say this too. As a wedding planner, like I always tell my clients if they haven't booked their photographer yet and they're kind of like on the fence between a few, something that I always recommend is looking at an entire gallery, multiple galleries, because you had said, you have light and airy, or you have certain things, but you want to make sure that that's the style that they're wanting, the editing style. Simply looking at somebody's website or their Instagram, that is like the highlights of their career, right? But you want to be able to see exactly you want to see a full gallery of a wedding because you're seeing all the shots. You can see how many shots they're going to be producing for you, what the editing style looks like. I have had some people that were like, oh, we loved their Instagram. And then we looked at the gallery and it was like, okay, well, only the 10 photos that they put on their Instagram were good and everything else like really wasn't what we were looking for. So do you recommend and do you offer like full galleries to your clients?
I do. And I think knowing you've worked with me and you've received galleries from me, something that I do that not many photographers do, I give you the raw photos. And that is such a mind-blowing thing to probably 90% of photographers, especially here in Charleston. Yeah. And they can't believe that I'm willing to hand that out. And the reason I do that is not only do I want you to see how many photos it takes to get the perfect shot, I also want you to see the process. And I want you to see what I can turn a photo into.
Yes.
I mean, you'll see a photo sometimes and you're like, that should be deleted. I never want to see it again. Then you see me edit it and you're like, wow. These are totally different. And I want to give people that transparency. Not every photo I take is perfect. And not every photo that you're in, you look perfect. But I tell you what, a little editing goes a long way.
You also have to be good at it.
True. And it's being transparent and allowing people to see, okay, I delivered you a gallery of 200 photos. I took 800 the day of your wedding. this is the difference, and this is why you're receiving what you receive, and this is what you're paying for, and this is what you're getting, and this is what I went and culled through and picked. And it also lets people decide what they would pick. Maybe I thought a picture was awful and they loved that moment. Who am I to say the picture of you ugly crying is not the one to put in my gallery or my portfolio or my Instagram? That might have been your favorite photo. And if I didn't give you a chance to see that, I'm doing you a disservice.
That's amazing that you do that. That's crazy because I do know there was some like TikTok debacle back a few months back. You probably know this, but the I even forget what it was called. But essentially, the bride like blasted this photographer and was like, her editing style was terrible. She had edited this very like similar all the way throughout her galleries and everything. But she asked for the raw footage, and the photographer's like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I don't provide the raw footage. Like, those photos are mine."
And a lot of people don't. A lot of photographers won't hand it out. And I understand you don't want someone to go post your worst photo in your eyes as a photographer, a professional, on social media, or throw on their own filter, or edit it this way, or do X, Y, and Z. And that is terrifying because that one photo can follow you forever. And you're like, oh, I can't believe they took that from the raw gallery. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. And that's something I talk about in my contracts of what's shareable and the licensure and what you own, and going forward that way.
Now with that crazy story, have you had any crazy stories or crazy things happen?
Nothing TikTok worthy. I promise. Nothing to go viral over. I've been really lucky. I've been so lucky. I can probably tell you a couple funny stories, but nothing tragic. And that kind of goes with what Lindsay and I were talking about, is vetting each other.
Right.
You know, deciding if we're a good fit. And you know, in that first phone call, did I click with this person? Did I feel weird when I hung up? Did I like them? Did they like me? Did they know what they were talking about? Did it seem too good to be true? Those are all valid questions and concerns.
Yeah.
So in that process, we get to know each other with the engagement session. That's something that I offer all of my brides, which is also a little bit different.
I love that.
I
already. She yelled for me a little bit.
Different. Yeah, right. I did yell at you. I was like, no, girl, it needs to be contracted. What are you doing? You're giving too much away.
I do. But I want people to be happy. And that's the best part of my job, is for someone to be happy. So part of my contract is, and maybe someday it'll change, for now I'm sticking to it, but I don't make anyone go into a wedding contract without being completely satisfied with an engagement process. And that engagement shoot, you can walk away with all of those photos, all those raw photos. Those are all yours, and you can go find yourself a new wedding photographer if I'm not the one. And people are shocked by that.
Huge. I think that's huge because you can vet them and they can vet you. You can feel each other out, get the vibe, and then also they can see how you edit them, and then you can figure out how to edit their style and everything.
Awkward conversation as well, because
and the wedding
sometimes
day.
they get back that package and they're like, oh, this was not the light and airy that I envisioned. It's not you. And sometimes it is me. I can say that about my own work. Sometimes I'm not one for you. But, sometimes they see that and they're like, how do I get out of this? Am I going to lose my deposit and the date and the X, Y, and Z? There's all the issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something that I promise is that we do the shoot and you're unhappy, we're done. That's it. And I wish them luck and I hope they find the best one. And sometimes I'll even recommend someone who I think it will be a better fit. So
that's above and beyond. That's like top tier service. But also, you're making all the other photographers look bad out here, girl.
I love it.
I love it.
Charleston is loaded with amazing photographers. And that's why I do have to stand out in certain areas, or that's why I do so many styles or so many things, because you have to find your niche and you have to find your way into this already saturated kind of market that we have. But I will tell you, I've had some experiences. I've had some stories. I've had some clients. I've had some crazies. It's never the bride. You always think it's going to be Bridezilla. You always think it's going to be just a monster of a princess bride. And it never is. It's always the family. It's never the bride. And really Lindsay can weigh in on this.
Actually, I'll probably get in trouble if I weigh in on this. I'm just going to keep my comments to myself. But
let's just not speak on mine.
Maybe the moms. It's sometimes
it's moms
on both sides. It's sometimes the groom. Y'all, sometimes it's the groom
or the groom's mom.
I've seen a really rough TikTok. It was of something, and I don't even think the girl was capturing or was a content creator. I think she was maybe the makeup girl, and she was walking around with the phone or whatever, trying to get them to do TikToks. And I love TikToks. I would love to do TikToks at my wedding, and I did. But this girl was trying to take a video of the groom, and the groom flipped on her.
Oh. Yeah.
And I don't know who was in the wrong, but I mean,
And people
Who was
do
it, though?
overstep
Who was it?
boundaries. Oh, I won't say any names. Let's just say I had
What
a
family?
mother of the bride show up in a wedding dress.
I was there. I was there.
And
I was there, y'all. I was there for
I was
this.
floored.
I just got chills.
And I'm not talking a white dress. I'm not talking a satin gown. I'm not talking a slip dress. I'm not talking lace. I'm talking
A wedding dress.
on lovely ball gown, full blown train bows. You can picture the satin that was dragging behind her.
Honestly,
It was stunning.
What?
they honestly looked the same. The dresses looked very similar to
It
one
was
another.
stunning. I mistook her for the bride more than once.
Stop it.
No, many vendors did. Many vendors were like, "Is that the bride?" I'm like, "No, that is the mom of the bride." But the weird part about it is that no one cared
Oh.
about like
No one cared about the vendors. And I was like, wow, maybe this is a new trend. Maybe this is something that they had always planned. Maybe we didn't really know the story. And so that's one of those things like we really couldn't judge because the bride wasn't crying.
I mean, we judged.
So did the bride?
I'm not, yeah.
we judged.
Silent.
What did the bride
We lifted
approve?
down, we
Oh,
judged.
the bride. Well,
Did she
there was
pick
some
out
other
the dress?
things that.
I
Yeah,
picked out my mom's dress.
I think that they were fine with this. I don't think
I
there
think-
was any contention with.
My jaw.
I couldn't. There, no one
On the
was
floor.
crying. I mean, I made sure. I'm like, have you?
well, there was
seen what
crying at the
your mom is wearing?
rehearsal, so I don't know.
Yelling.
I would beg to differ that it might have been a scenario where like the mom planned a lot of the wedding and the bride was younger and she probably just didn't have as much opinions or influence on her own wedding day. And that is sad, but you know what? Everyone had a good time. It was fine,
They
but
had fun, they
it
were
was
stunning.
awkward.
But I've just never seen anyone wear a wedding dress, and a good one at that. I mean, it could have been worse.
Wow.
I guess.
She looked stunning, but
What
she
is
looked like she
better,
was getting
a bad wedding
Did
dress
she
or
at
a
least-
good wedding dress on the mother of the bride?
If you're wearing white and you're not the bride,
know.
shame on you.
I mean, it was good. It was a good dress. It was some money spent.
No, she
See, I
was,
think that's worse because what if she like
Yeah,
to
you almost
bang in
wish
the
it
hot
was ugly
glue.
and cheap. Then you might not have mistaken her.
that whole
It
wedding though was a
gorgeous.
little bizarre. Like,
was a
we won't
weird-
even go into details because then they'll know that we're talking bad about them. But it was wild times. It was
wish I could have
And
been
it was
there.
good times, but
Wish I
we were
could've
lucky
been
enough to
there.
work that one together. So, yeah, that's one of my crazies.
I love
But-
it.
So I do have a crazy story. I saw this recently on Facebook and I thought this would be like a perfect topic for our podcast. So I'm probably going to butcher, but this bride was talking about how she had booked a planner. The planner had essentially kind of helped with like some of the vendor recommendations, not a ton, not like a ton of design. And then it didn't end up working out. They went separate ways, but they did have a contract in place. And the planner was going to the bride and was basically like, "Hey, so I just wanted to like ask your permission to like showcase some of these photos once they, like the wedding hadn't happened yet." But she was like, "Once the photo gallery comes out, like I would just love your permission in like posting some of this stuff since I had a hand in like some of the design, like barely any, right?" And I'm thinking to myself, so the bride obviously was like, we're no longer in a contract together. Like, we're not working together anymore. I've made that very clear. Like, I don't feel comfortable with you showcasing something that you weren't even my planner for. Like, you're not going to be planning my day, essentially. And everyone was kind of, weighing in on it and whatever. And I just thought it was bizarre because the planner doesn't own the rights to the photography and neither really does the client. Like, obviously, you're giving them the raw. So you're a lot different than 99% of photographers out there, but you could probably speak to it better than anyone in this room. Like contractually, like no one owns the rights to your photography other than you.
I have to say everything's negotiable. My contract states obviously copyright is by me, licensure goes to my client, and 99% of the time, we'll use that fraction a lot. 99% of the time, it is going towards personal use. It's going to social media. It's going to your walls in your house and your photo albums. And that's pretty much where it ends. If I'm lucky, something might go a little viral on TikTok or Instagram Reels. But again, that's still considered personal use because they're posting it from their page and I gave them the
But
right.
the planner themselves doesn't have a right. Like she was stating it as like, it's a right that I have to use these photos and post them on my website.
Wrong.
And I'm like, if the photographer isn't giving them to you and the bride isn't giving them to you, you don't have any rights as a planner to that.
And my
the
photos
photos.
went to the
Right.
bride. My photos didn't go to the planner. My photos didn't go to any vendor unless I choose to contractually do that with any of them, which sometimes I do. I mean, we have seen some amazing catering, cakes, decor, flowers, all the things. And at that point, other conversations are had. What can I have? What can I share? What can I use? And all that takes is a conversation. So the assumption that that planner could just use this without going into any sort of negotiation is, I mean,
thought it was bizarre.
it's pretty ludicrous. And it's rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rude.
But you have people who think
They're
they're
entitled.
and
It's an entitlement issue.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in the wedding industry and any vendor industry, I guess.
Now, in what instance, because I don't really know much about photography. I know taking pictures at my wedding and everything aside from that. And I just took my photos and posted them online. In what cases would you like have to take like legal action or something? Like what would...
That's kind of my risk with giving you raw photos. I specify that the raw photos are for you to cull through and pick your favorites, and we can talk about them and I can edit them for you. Or you can say, I just love this the way it is. I don't want you to do a thing. I have to agree to that before you go do anything with it.
The raw.
Just because that doesn't showcase, in my opinion, my best work. There's a reason I gave it to you raw. There's a reason I didn't edit that photo. There's a reason that wasn't in my favorites or one that went into your final gallery. And those conversations are usually really easy to have. And I like to think that none of my work is that devastating that I'd be mortified if it ended up on social media. But I want it to represent me. You're going to tag me.
Right.
And sometimes I say, go ahead and post it. Don't tag me on that one.
I didn't think in that
Brides are fine
direction.
with that.
So the tagging part, I mean, as a content creator, I see this a ton. We actually had somebody weigh in on the questionnaire that we posted today about this. Like, when should you be tagging? Like, as a content creator, it's really frustrating because we also give all of our raw footage and people will create their own reels and we want them to. That's what it's about. Like, get creative with the raw footage. But I always just require that they always tag me. It's very well known that I'm the one who captured this footage. Is it similar with photography?
Yeah, definitely. And that crossover, because I'm also a content creator, is tough. And when I meet with either, if I'm the content creator meeting with the photographer or vice versa, I'm the photographer meeting with content, I want the conversations to be, what do you want your name on? How do you want to be represented? And again, it's always about transparency and having these conversations, because I've worked with photographers who are like, please do not tag me in any of your content, which makes perfect sense. Content is being filmed on an iPhone 16 in 4K raw footage and being made into these cheesy fun reels. That doesn't represent a photographer using a $10,000 camera and with X amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars they put into all of their equipment and everything else. I don't want the two to be confused. We're two very different vendors doing two very different jobs. And I don't want that crossover or mix up or people to see a cell phone picture that I took as a content creator and think that that's my photography work. It's different. And that's a hard line to draw. And Lindsay could probably weigh in more on content creation there.
Well, the reels are not cheesy. So
She's in the best way.
Okay.
Okay, back it up.
I'm just saying. No, because
Good thing I'm
content is different for everybody and everyone has a style, just like photography. Like, I would agree with that. There are people who are very much more like candid and authentic. There's other people who have a little bit more of like a cinematic feel to them. And with any contract or any negotiations with clients, everybody is different. Everyone has their own contract for a reason. So I think everything that you spoke to today is super beneficial to brides. And I mean, you just kind of have to feel it out, have those conversations. That's why we want to get in front of you. That's why we want to have those consultation calls. I know it's frustrating as a couple to like have a billion calls with a billion different vendors, but it's, you want to vibe with your media team more than anybody, because we are literally with you. We're with you more than anybody else on the wedding day. So it's really, really important to feel hyped up and, we're easing your mind. We're like helping with the stress. We're managing the timeline. Like, we're doing so much more than just taking photos or videos or capturing moments of you. Like, I was bustling dresses the other weekend and like helping with timelines when they were getting derailed. And so picking your media team is a huge decision that you'll make. It really does make all the difference in how well the day works. So thank you for all your insight. We're so appreciative to have you here. Like, you are super amazing. You guys will have to check her out for sure.
100%. Where can people find you?
All my socials and website, they're all the same name. It's Brittany Chavez Photography, and that's www.com, and that is my Instagram @ and You can find me on Facebook. I'm not as active as I should be, but I am there. And yeah, check it out. And I'm always open for a conversation and always open to talk about things and answer any questions. And I think that transparency is something that not every photographer often offers because it's such a time-consuming process.
No, you're amazing. It's honestly a 21 magazine. You talked about that. We're working that. I'm manifesting that for next year.
Yeah,
so put another one on the books.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we'll have all of that information in the show notes as well. And you guys can also follow us on social media. We have Instagram. You can find us at RSVP_thanks_pod.
Be sure to leave us a voicemail on our hotline, and you can call us at 320-558-RSVP.
Y'all can
voicemail, ask questions.
Yeah, you guys can also find us on TikTok. That's RSVP.thanks. You can also add your questions to our Facebook page, RSVP Thanks Wedding Podcast. So there's tons of areas. DM us, send us questions. We're happy to have, we're happy to answer them. That's why we're here, just to educate and make this process a lot easier.
Yes.
As always, happy planning, guys. And don't forget, RSVP. Thanks.